I'm going to walk through the 5 critical roles that are required to get your CIMcloud implementation project off to a fast start, and I'm just going to add some color to what's presented in this article. Ultimately, these roles are hats. Rarely are they a full-time job or someone you have to hire for. It's most typically people that are in-house employees, or where you may find a subcontractor to come in during the implementation project to help out. You can also hire implementation partners like our Pro Services group to do it. But ultimately, these hats have to be worn by someone that gets the role, wants the role, and has the capacity to do the role. This is the core foundation of success, is getting your core team assembled and making sure all 5 of these core roles or hats are being worn by someone that can actually do the job. They've got the capacity to do it, and they've got the skills to do the job. So this is kind of the short version of this. There is a longer version article that goes through more roles than just these 5 critical ones. I'll talk through the 5 critical ones. The first one is the program manager. On a high level, this is typically someone that's on the executive leadership team. It's not uncommon to see the CEO play this role. The key is that person has to take ownership and responsibility for this, the key responsibilities of wearing the hat. And they typically have budget authority. Their job is to fill these other 4 roles right out of the gate on the project. There is a separate video and article just on the program manager because it's so critical to the success of everything that goes on with your overall CIM initiatives, both in the initial implementation and long term. The next 2 roles, these are short, and the program manager, by the way, is not a large time commitment, but it is an important set of responsibilities. The next 2 are very low time commitments. They're typically involved just right up front out of the gates. We put them in as critical roles because they are helping unlock our ERP deployment team, the ERP sync tool deployment team, to unlock them to be able to install the sync tool and get your ERP data hooked up with the CIMcloud platform. So there's 2 people there. One is your IT network admin expert. They're going to be the ones that's given us credentials to Sage, credentials into the network, be able to make sure we can make a secure outbound connection through the firewall to move data back and forth between your ERP system, things like product data or inventory levels, customers, shipping addresses, order histories, invoice histories, things like that, that allow your customers to be able to log in and access their history data, pay invoices, see products, buy products, place orders, things like that. So they're going to be providing the credentials and network access to make sure we can securely get in and install the sync tool. The ERP financial data and business process expert is someone that basically is the guru, typically on sales order and invoice payment type workflow. If that's more than one person, then they both need to be involved in that role. But they are basically going to be working with our deployment team to make sure that the configuration options, there's a questionnaire that we've got that has a bunch of options that you can choose on things like how do you want to filter customer data or a product data? Do you want all of it or a subset of it? When orders are being imported in, what settings do you want set on the order header, for example, or things like comments? Do you want them going on the header or as a separate line item? So there's a bunch of little options that we have that they will need to provide input on to give direction to our deployment, our ERP sync deployment team to make sure they hook it up properly. And those 2 are going to come right out of the gates. Step 2 of the overall project is these 2 tasks, the ERP sync pre-install checklist and the ERP sync configuration questionnaire, and those are filled by those 2 roles. The next 2 roles are going to be critical throughout the implementation of the project, not just stage 1, but through stage 2 and stage 3. That's the lead project manager. This is the trains running on time person, and then the lead implementer. This is going to be the in-house domain expert on all things CIMcloud and ERP sync. So they should be technically savvy. And they should have some level of detail orientation where they can get in. They're going to be the ones answering questions on how the whole watch is built and how everything works within your specific implementation or solution of the CIMcloud platform and that ERP sync. So the lead project manager, there is a separate onboarding checklist for them. There is an onboarding checklist for the program manager as well. And there is a onboarding checklist for the lead implementer. We did break this out into 2 tasks. One is completing the general orientation. We did this intentionally because they can get started on this before the platform is deployed The rest of the implementation onboarding checklist, they need to be inside the platform to do it because they're getting oriented with all the different workspaces within the platform and just an overview of how things can get done. So this is basically, again, an overview to explain these key roles and why they're important and critical to assign. So right out of the gates on the project, there needs to be a name by each one of these spots, and that name needs to be communicated, particularly for these two, the IT network admin and ERP financial data, back to our customer success manager so they can set up the appropriate things or administer the appropriate things related to the ERP sync installation. So that deployment process. And you can go back and reference the overall implementation process video and article to get context on this. So if you need any help with this or additional explanation, just let us know. Good luck.